Markets change. The unknown unknowns are what move markets, while the known unknowns are already priced in. Declines happen, but history shows they've all been temporary. The advance is what's permanent. I'm Mike Bishop.
And I'm Michael Bishop.
As fiduciaries, with decades of combined experience, we've helped investors navigate the noise with a disciplined, long-term plan. The key to success is acting on a strategy, not reacting to headlines. Welcome to the Fiduciary's Edge, where we break down the risks, opportunities, and realities of managing wealth the right way. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome back to the 6th episode of the Fiduciary's Edge podcast. Second episode in video form. Today we are calling our episode Don't Retire Your Growth Too Early, where we want to talk about really a string of related questions and thoughts that clients and prospects come to us with all around the theme of, well, I'm approaching retirement. Shouldn't I get more conservative? So I don't want to jump ahead too much in the outline here today, but I really want to call it out. I mean, you much longer over the course of your career have heard these questions and thoughts and fears that people bring to meetings like that. But, what do you hear? It
is the age-old wisdom that all of us, including me, we've all been taught, right? From hearing it at the breakfast table, hearing parents talk about, maybe except for you.
Yeah, not my breakfast table.
But it's stocks are risky, bonds are safe. Like, everyone knows that. It's just intuitive almost that as you get closer to retirement, you want to take risk off the table.
Yep.
You want to stabilize and fix your income and fix your principal. And for the 35 plus years I've been doing this, I've heard when I was 25 and I'm hearing now in my later 50s of, well, I don't have as much time as you to recover the next time it goes down. I'm at retirement or I'm getting closer. It's just that intuitive nature that you want to take less risk as you get older. Just we're all hardwired to believe that.
Yep. Have you seen any of this too? I mean, have you had clients that have pulled the ripcord, so to speak?
We have on the way here today to record this had a call that someone wants to do that, but and it's not a fault. I just think it's how we're wired that if you see trouble coming down the road, you want to be proactive to stop it, to protect yourself, to do something to limit the pain or the hurt. So it's a natural response, but yeah, I'm just thinking years ago, and I've had this happen multiple times where someone will come in and say, I was referred to you and I need X dollars a month to retire on. This is what I spend. And with Social Security and the interest I'm getting on my CDs, I'm above that. So I don't really need to take any risk. I'm good. I'm in a good place because my income exceeds what I need to spend. And I just think people dramatically miss that's today. That is not looking down the road, the multiple decades that you and your spouse are likely to be here. You face a threat you're not even considering. And that's kind of the intuitive nature of that thought process of I got to get more conservative as I get into retirement.
Yeah. Yep. And with this too, and we'll talk about this more as we go, but related to the shouldn't I get more conservative when I get into retirement is how much can I take out per month or per year? I think the other side of this same coin that we're talking about is what do people, that bonds, people, as you say, people think bonds are safe, but also there's this certain magic number that people associate with too. We hear that 4%, or sometimes people say 4.5%. If I make that withdrawal rate per year, I'll also be safe of my, now bond portfolio. Someone approaching retirement who made that mistake, as we see it, of going all to bonds or even into CDs or something like that, and relying on that fixed income plus Social Security, then they'll say, well, then if I take only 4 or 4.5% of this portfolio, I'll be good.
When I started in this business back in the early 90s, like when I was just getting my training in this and coming online, it was a performance game. It was all about who had the best product to get the highest return.
Yeah.
There was no real work done on lifetime income planning. Like that was foreign back then.
Wow.
Now we spend all of our time doing that.
Yep.
But there was a guy back in 94, he was a financial planner, his name was Bill Bengen, and he came up with what the industry is called the 4% withdrawal rule. And if you go back and look what he did, he actually came up with 4.2% was his number. And today he's changed it to closer to 5.
Oh, wow.
But the theory was if I'm in a portfolio dominantly invested in equities, this is not a fixed income portfolio. The dominant portion was in equities, diversified. I'm rebalancing. If I start at year 1 of a 3-decade retirement and take 4% of my principal and then adjust it by inflation every year after, not 4% of the value, inflation adjusted from year 1, in all of his back testing up until that point, that person would have never run out of money. They would have never depleted their portfolio, including the 1920s, the Great Depression.
Yep. That
was worst case. So the industry just took that, rounded it down to 4 to make it a nice, easy term. And then people think, I can, as you just said, I can invest in anything and primarily fixed income. As long as I don't take more than 4, I'm okay. And that's really pushing the boundaries of what he discovered.
Yeah. So really getting into it now. I think the purpose of this episode is not just to tell people you're looking at the wrong thing, but to provide a holistic realignment, I think.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, it is you are looking at the wrong thing. We think there are people who have this question, who come at this point in their lives, decision tree, and need to think through it. They are focused on the wrong fear. They are focused on number go down bad, number can't go down, number need to go up only, number go up good. Like that is where people are. When the real problem is not the demon in the room that they need to exercise. The demon is actually, even though I'm stopping my working life today at 65 or 70, the rest of the world is not retiring. The rest of the world is continuing to inflate. Right. Inflation is ticking up in the background. So it's not the static number that matters. It's the how are you positioned? Are you, does the portfolio match your long-term goals? Do you have your goals identified? What do you need this nest egg that you've saved up to produce for you over the rest of your life? The answer to that question is not found by opening up your Schwab app and taking a look at the static number. The answer to that question is the way that I'm holistically aligned across all of my assets positioned in a way that's going to get to meet my goals the most effectively.
Just to put a number on that. So this is, again, not a derogatory comment because I included was taught to believe this, but almost everyone that walks in our door believes this intuitively, that if I can determine what my income need is based on my expenses, if I can cover that through a portfolio, I will be taken care of. And what they almost all miss is once you introduce time, that they're thinking, their belief is I need to conserve my money. To your point, number goes down bad, number goes up good. If I can conserve it, if I can stop it from going down, that's good. They're focused on preserving or fixing it, being what we call conservative, or they call conservative. Yeah. And what are they trying to conserve? They're trying to conserve their money. Mm-hmm. What their real focus should be on conserving their purchasing power. And I don't think anyone thinks that.
Drill into that a little bit more. How do you define money versus purchasing power?
So let's just say over a 25-year period. because the math is pretty simple. If I use 3% historic inflation, which is about the average historical inflation rate for the last 100 years, in just about a 25-year time period, what cost me $1 on day one of retirement on year 25 at 3% inflation will be $2.
Yep.
So if I say, put some math on that, if I go into retirement with $1 million and I say, my goal is to never lose that.
Yep.
I'm going to protect that. So let's just go backwards 25 years. And if I bought a 25-year bond in the year 2000, they were paying about 6% back then.
Wow.
So if I put my $1 million in $1 million bond 25 years ago, I got $60,000 in income every year. This last year, 2025, I got my last $60,000 check. And if I really am honest with myself, I look out there at the world and say, boy, what cost me 60 in year one, now to buy the same stuff cost me 120.
Yep.
My income has been fixed.
Yep.
My $1 million that I just got returned to me because the bond matured, I have to go out and reinvest it, feels like $500,000 today because the world has doubled. No one thinks about that. They've conserved their money. They've lost their purchasing power. And that's what we really try to get our clients to understand of. We're not worried about the temporary declines in money. To your point, number goes down bad.
Yeah.
We're more worried about year 15 and 20 of, are you going to be eating into principal to sustain what inflation's done to you?
Yep. So I thought about this earlier today too. Another way to think about this is, everybody drives a used car, right? Because you drive it, it's used. When you drove it off the lot, the second you cross the threshold, it's a used car now, right? It doesn't have that same sticker price as when you paid for it. So it's sort of the same thing as, do you look at your Kelley Blue Book value every time you get on the highway? Because
I do.
Does a normal person, does a healthy, well-adjusted mind look at their Kelley Blue Book?
No.
And we're laughing about that, but think literally about that. And it's the same thing. If you're planning on making a trip like we did today from Erie to Cleveland, it's an hour and a half. I don't even know if that's a full 100 miles. But our car, any of the cars that we have access to, and as I think through it, any of the cars even of like our family or our friends, they're all over the place in value. They're all over the place in years and miles. But every car that I know could make that trip, right? Just over 90. All of those cars have a different Kelley Blue Book value. And that means that someone's going to pay a different amount for that car. But the purpose that we need that car is not the cash. It's to get to Erie to Cleveland.
Yeah.
So in some ways, when you open that Schwab app and you see the number is, it is what it is today, and then tomorrow you check and number go down, number go down bad, that's not what you need, because that number that you see when you open up the Schwab app is essentially the liquidation value of your portfolio. If you open the app and click sell all for everything, that amount that you see at the top of the app when you open it is more or less...
Is that moment of time.
That's your money.
Yep.
That's what the economy for all of your equities and bonds are willing to pay you right now for that.
Yep.
But you don't need that right now. If you're a retiree, it's like your car. You don't need it to sell it. You need it to get you to Wegmans and to visit your kids. You need it for what it can do for you, not for what someone else wants for it today.
Wow, great analogy. To add to that, you just triggered a story. I remember in 2008, a client was referred to me at that time. And I remember this gentleman, his parents passed away, and he inherited $2 million.
Yep.
He really didn't have a lot of money saved up on his own. So mom and dad left him $2 million. His best friend from college was a bond trader for a firm in New York, and he put half of the million with the bond trader.
Yep.
And then the other half, the estate planning attorney told him to come and see us, and he said, I should put this in equities. So essentially he was doing a 50-50 portfolio, half in bonds, half in equities. And he said, I'm going to live off the interest on the bonds. I'm okay on other income. I'm just going to live off the interest and let this grow.
Sure.
2008, right at the
Good
precipice to the worst decline since the Great Depression. March of 2009, I remember after multiple counseling sessions with him, March of 2009, he comes to see me and said, I cannot take it anymore. I literally can't handle it. I need you to liquidate, and I'm going to take my now $500,000. The $1 million he gave us turned into $500,000, and I'm going to put that all on the bond side. And I just can't deal with the volatility. To your point, he saw the sticker on that day. It was alarmingly scary. I was even scared, but he could not handle that. That was permanent impairment of his capital.
Yep.
Put that all in bonds, and I haven't spoken to him since, but I do the math every year because it's a good reminder. The $500,000, if he could have not acted on that emotion, but believed in the plan, if he would have never touched it, paid taxes from somewhere else, that 500 would be $7.5 million today.
God. Wow.
But he didn't see it that way.
Yep.
Saw it as sticker price is reality. The company has literally lost half of its value, the companies, and I can't take it anymore.
Yep. And like when you drill into that, I don't know if I just have the benefit of working in the industry and seeing it, but even when you say it that way, and maybe it's much more obfuscated for people who are clients who are not looking at this every day, but fundamentally when we are in a correction and your portfolio goes down by 50% or more, just due to market forces. And let's even assume that you're not in retirement yet. You're not drawing from the portfolio at all. So you have an untouched portfolio that has lost half of its money, to use the terms that we're defining.
Right.
Half of its money relative from when you checked the other day. But like your ownership percentage in Apple Computer has not changed. Just what the guy on the street was willing to pay you for it yesterday versus today went down, but you still own the same fractional percentage of the IP, of the Apple Store's revenue, of the Apple Music continued subscription income. Like that, the facts of ownership, the nature of the car making the drive to Cleveland has not changed. Someone is just willing to offer you less, but that engine was just inspected. It was just, it just passed inspection. You got your oil changed. You're good to make that trip to Cleveland and back in a day. Someone's just going to pay you a little bit less for it today.
So your analogy, think back to that 08-09 collapse. I don't remember what Apple stock did in relation to the S&P. The S&P fell 56%. Let's assume Apple was down 50% in that decline.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point of all those streams of revenue and cash flows that the company's generating, what do you think the CEO was doing then? Saying, I mean, you gave the analogy.
Yeah. I think it was still Steve Jobs.
It was Steve Jobs
2008. Yeah. Like, you think Steve Jobs in 2000 just like goes around to all the cubicles in the Apple headquarters, is like, guys, pack it up. It's over. Sorry, stock fell by half today. There's boxes in the break room.
Yep, nothing we can do.
There's nothing we can do. This is it. It's never been more over. Like, do you think like that's the almost imply like what you think is happening?
Yeah.
Because the car hasn't changed from day to day. It's the same engine. It's the same company. It's just the entire market is not doing well right now, and as a result, people. And almost if you think of it, not to get really abstract here with it, but especially in 2008 at a really high level was a credit crunch, a liquidity crisis. People demanded liquid cash more than they demanded assets. And so it almost to say you could, in the case of what I'm sure is a lot of companies, it has nothing to do with the fact that people think Marriott hotels are dirty places to stay in. I'm not saying that, but like the assumptions are, I'm not saying that people thought that, oh, the iPhone 1, which had come out at the time was bad and it's so over, or I'm not saying any of that. People just didn't want that asset. They wanted the cash. And so they were exchanging their equities for cash. It almost has nothing to do
Right.
with the
It was
nature
a
of the
liquidity
company.
event.
Right.
So to your point, the Kelly Blue Book analogy, when we're on 90, I don't care that
Right.
we depreciated a little bit today. It did its job of getting us here. The vehicle did.
Yep.
People are attaching to the valuation and saying, I can't have that go down, and forgetting the utility of what they're investing in.
Right. Especially if you're if you're our client,
Yeah.
and our clients are long-term investors, it doesn't matter the today, because you need a little bit of it today.
Yep.
But you're not just going Erie to Cleveland and back. You're going for the rest of your life.
Right.
And that engine, the way that you have it positioned and built and the speed that you set for cruising, that's more important than what is someone going to pay me for it today?
Correct.
It's what speed am I at? Are the tires good? Is the engine checked? Am I blowing out black fumes behind me? That's much more important than what is someone going to pay me for it today.
So in my experience, when Maureen and I got married in the early 90s, and just like three things that hit me, I'm thinking of our first new car, a Honda Accord. I can see that sticker on the window in my head, $14,000. It may have as well been $140,000 at the time in the early 90s. I looked at this recently. A new Honda Accord, same model, similar features, is $32,000.
Yep.
In that roughly 30-some year period. The first apartment that we rented in Pittsburgh was $500 a month. That same apartment in Green Tree, Pennsylvania, same unit, is $1,300 a month.
Wow. Yep.
The first suit I got to go on an interview with was $150, and you can get a nice shirt for $150.
Yep.
Like, if you fix your income, terrified of number going down, so therefore you just want to fix your principal and fix your income, you're going to lose that fight.
Yep.
Not in a year, but in 10 years, 20 years, certainly 30 years, it's going to come back with a vengeance on you. And almost no one figures that out.
Yep. Did they update the appliances at your apartment, though, or?
They did update the appliances, put new Formica in it, new floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think if there was like one idea we could shake out of our clients, it's the number go down is not the problem. It's inflation over the long run.
Yeah.
And we talked about this the other day too, that inflation in a lot of ways is a little bit of like a new problem, like a forgotten problem. Because we talked about during the early 2000s, especially before the Great Recession. I mean, it sounds almost ironic today, but the Federal Reserve was worried that there wasn't enough inflation, that we could actually experience deflation before the 2008 collapse. And to now be through the looking glass on that, and the Federal Reserve's trying to keep us below 4%, trying to keep the economy cool in that way. But if you think about that, that was almost a decade or nearly more of prices essentially not changing year to year. I mean, I remember learning in an econ class that, for large restaurants like chains, it's sometimes not feasible to change the price of the menu year over year because the printing cost and the distribution to get all those menus out is more than you would recover in revenue from the increased price anyway. So if you think of the 2000s as maybe the mid, I don't know exactly how long that low inflationary period was, but more or less a decade of everyone, retirees, young adults, young families, people in their working years, children, even going to the dollar store and buying gum. Everyone got used to prices being sticky for 10 years.
Yeah, it became the new norm.
Right, it became the norm. Like it's almost like you almost can't blame people for not envisioning that's a problem because we really haven't had to deal with it for a long time. And now that it's back very tangibly in a way that people experience year over year, I think that's helping realign clients to what the real problem will be in their retirements. But it's like, to some extent, you can't blame people for having that mentality because we went essentially a decade when the economy was good too, with no inflation.
I remember this was an epiphany for me, and it kind of like a tangent point for my whole future and what I'm doing today. In 1980, I was 10 years old. My next door neighbor, a retired guy, Mr. Sterling, used to talk to me about investing. I'm just playing in the yard, and we ended up in these conversations talking about investing, which got me fascinated about how this works, how you could create wealth over time by investing in companies. So that kind of triggered it for me. But I remember after a couple times of talking with him, he revealed to me that he and his wife, they had no children at the time, had accumulated $1 million, 1980. And I remember I ran home and I was telling my parents about it. And I told my parents and they said, $1 million? You sure? He said $1 million. That is a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
So today, 1980 till today, for Mr. Sterling to have kept up with inflation,
Yeah.
it would have to be 3.9 million.
Wow.
Does the same as 1 million did in 1980.
Yep.
And a lot of people think that's, $1 million back then that's like hitting the lottery. And now it's almost 4 times that. That's not over.
Yeah.
That's going to keep on going.
Yep.
So again, unless you figure out a way that you're not going to eat into your principal and let go of that idea of principal stability, fixing it, number going down's bad, that is the threat that we try to get our clients to worry about, not the temporary declines that happen.
It's funny, as you're saying that, I'm I'm thinking about the fact that in that same time period, like the $6 million man is now worth half of that. Like the $6 million man is essentially the tech inflation equivalent and cost inflation equivalent of like an Iranian drone right now. Yeah. Like it's just like not that it's like $6 million man, like that's nothing.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I mean, it's easier to put nice round numbers on it like that, like in the Mr. Sterling example, like, wow, $1 million seemed like $1 million. People now talk like that about $1 billion. Yeah. It's the roundness of it makes it a nice, easy threshold to attach to as a lot of money. But the 1980s, simultaneous is like that was 40 years ago, but also in the grand scheme of things, not that long ago. Right. Most people, like a lot of people who are alive in the 80s are still alive today and have a lot longer to go. Like that wasn't really that much time for $1 million to essentially need to be nearly 4 to have the same purchasing power.
Right.
Like the $6 million man is nothing today.
Right.
It's lost so much magnitude, but felt imperceptible in that time. And a period of that time that we're talking about, that 40 years, includes when there was like no inflation through the 2000s. So it just goes to show that even if you are aware of inflation as a threat, it's hard to understand how dangerous it is if you're not constantly vigilant.
Well, as much as I believe this, you still make fun of me that my pricing's stuck in the 80s. I'm in my head, I think, what things should cost. You're just anchored to that.
Right. So usually to get to the real number, I just double whatever you say. Because you're about right. You're just 40 years behind.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit behind. Like my savings can go up, but the world should be back where it was when I was 15 years old.
Yeah, I've made money. How did everyone else make money also?
Exactly.
I thought I was the only one going
I'm the only one pulling the oars here. Just to contrast that. So 25 years ago, that bond that I bought that was paying 6% that just came due. And we don't tell this to clients heading into retirement, put all your money in the S&P 500, just to put a number on it. Equities over that same decade, or 2.5 decades, 25 years, there's been, 6 bear markets?
Yeah.
2 of the worst since the Great Depression, a pandemic, like some ugly things have happened. But if I lived off my income, if it was invested in equities, again, the S&P, taxes paid from another source, my dividends haven't stayed flat like they would have in a bond. They're up 5-fold.
Wow.
So companies, as you just said, they don't process adversity as victims. They're figuring out ways to be opportunists.
Yep.
And the $1 million that I just sat in there and forgot about, that's over $4 million.
Yep.
So what's the real risk?
Right.
That's what we try to ask a better question back, like the Socratic method that you were trained in, of what is the risk you're trying to protect against? People just don't intuitively see that.
Yeah, because number go down is not a risk, right? Like
it feels like it is. It feels like you're being attacked by the tiger in the savannah.
Yeah, it feels like a risk, but in a lot of ways, it's It's not. It's not even a risk. In some ways, it's a certainty, right? That number will go down because you're either going to spend it or due to market forces outside of your control, it's going to decline in value over certain periods of time. So number go down isn't even a threat. You should just be ready for that to happen all the time. The threat is, oh, everyone wants 2 to 3% more for everything that I pay for every year. I need to be able to anticipate that.
That's it.
Yep.
Yep.
I wanted to get your thoughts on this too, because I think really to hone in on that, the stupid caveman expression we keep doing of number go down bad, number can't go down, number need go up only. I think another reason that people can't tolerate that is, I don't know if this is just the culture that we live in, or if this is how people view money, or they're taught to view money, or they want to view money even. But like we learned from the pharaohs, you can't take it with you. And I wonder how much people assign personal self-worth to the number when they open the Schwab app, especially people at or approaching retirement, that
Yep.
the value of their portfolio is their score in life. And the bigger the number, the higher your score. And
Yeah.
if the number goes down, you lose some sort of moral standing, or you lose tickets to the kingdom of heaven or something like that.
Well, we just saw Young Washington
Yeah.
last night, and on the way here, we were reflecting on the movie. But isn't that the American way? Like, to create your own planet and build your own empire? Isn't that what it is to be an American? The more, the better.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I thought Jesus told us that you can't. It's harder to a rich man has a harder time getting into the kingdom of heaven than a camel does through the eye of a needle. Not to get religious on you here, but I wonder too if this is a gendered thing, like if working men their whole lives
Definitely.
have associated so much of their own personal, like not even worth in the sense of their purchasing power, but like their worth as a human person in their family.
Absolutely. Going out and bringing home dinner every day. Absolutely, that is their defining value. And the flip side of that, the kind of nefarious point of that is, a lot of people think I have to protect that value for the day that I die.
Yeah.
They're almost managing it. It can't go below where it is today because I will not be here in 5 years or 10 years.
Yep.
I don't have time to get it back above that. It has to be at least this point when I'm gone. Why? For your kids? For the charity you're leaving it to? Like when you die, they're going to take your $1 million or $3.9 million and fully liquidate it and need it all that day to go to the grocery store?
That's your score that they have to carve into your gravestone because of how many points you got in life.
Okay.
That's to be facetious about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's true. But again, if it's ownership in companies, if it's not a sticker, the value it's not static.
Right.
Like it's dynamic every single day, year in, year out, decade after decade. And it's like a river that we say over time, rivers, they fall deeper and they broaden. That's what owning companies does. And if it's just, I'm going to protect this number to be a finite, limited value on the date of my death for the purpose of that it never dip below, that just doesn't seem rational to me.
Yeah, it's not. It's not rational when you look at it the way we're looking at it. I guess the reason I wanted to come at this from the angle of people identify with their number as a personal marker is that I think that explains that. I think that's why they do that. That's why people have that perception of I need to die with a certain number. Because if you thought about it the way that we think about it, it's nonsense. If you think about it the way they approach to it, it makes sense that they're using it to measure their lives.
So coming into that path, it does make sense. But it leads to very faulty wiring to make prudent investment policy if you're using that as your judgment to make decisions. And you run the risk of running out of money, especially, I mean, think about your grandparents are alive and well at 90.
Yeah.
2 generations ago, people didn't see into their 70s.
Right.
The longevity risk is far greater today than it was when I was born for my grandparents or great grandparents. That is a evident and real threat that people just don't take into account that's going to get them.
Yeah, and maybe not to put too fine a point on this, but baked into everything we're saying, we plan when our clients come and meet with us when they're in retirement, approaching retirement, a long ways from it. I think everyone has the goal of a long retirement, to work as many years as you can without, or to live as many years as you can without working. That, as we say, that can be about 30 to 40 years. If you retire at age 60, as we tell clients, we might have said this on the show before, but the actuarial life tables, as we all know, if you born today in the United States, male or female, you're likely to live between 74 and 76. If you are at age 65 and married, non-smoker, one of you or your spouse is likely to go to 90.
Jointly. Second to die, yeah.
Second to die is about to go. So you need a portfolio that's going to be able to drive for 30 years. And as we've talked about, 40 is longer than 30, but roughly in that same amount of time, that same amount of lived experience, inflation went from, wow, $1 million is an imperceptible a lot of money, to $6 million man's worth nothing today. That's the fight over the course of your retirement, because your retirement's not a 5-year or 24-month stretch.
Yep.
It's decades.
And I think if you can switch that focus or kind of de-emphasize the principal protection and focus more on that longevity, I think it's a more peaceful way. It's a much more peaceful approach than every single news headline that's coming over the hill is going to get me. If I can let go of that and kind of surrender to, I know we can't time when to get in, get out. These are going to happen. They've happened all historically. And companies don't just survive, they prosper through it. If I can focus on that, to your point, that multi-decade down the road and have faith in the process, I think it's much more peaceful, me as an advisor, to tell people that than try to have the fact set of how this current tragedy is going to work itself out. No one knows that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to do it. And all of history has proven that it works.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Fiduciary's Edge, titled Don't Retire Your Growth Too Early, where we walk through the difference between money and purchasing power and which one you actually ought to be more focused on in retirement. As always, if you have any ideas for upcoming episodes, please let us know, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Thanks again for tuning into The Fiduciary's Edge. We're on a mission to teach people how to avoid herd mentality by focusing on the decades rather than days. If you want to learn more, watch out for our quarterly newsletter and podcast. And as always, all views and opinions expressed in this podcast should not constitute financial or legal advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results.